Rangers isn't exactly known for being the most serious or well-rounded franchise.
Adam? Adam, what's wrong?
I'm a frog.
Even the better written and executed series often have goofier and more cheesy aspects that are hard to ignore. As a result, What If Power Rangers but Edgy isn't exactly foreign territory for creatives, whether it be 1995's mightily murdered Power Rangers, Power/Rangers, God what a stupid title, Red Rising, or even the official reboot film from 2017. The Boom comics have probably been the most successful attempt at answering the question, as it's less about edge for edge's sake and more about aging the franchise up with the fan base, while leaving behind the limitations of budget, Sentai footage, and targeting a younger audience. I do have to give the 2017 movie major credit for probably coming the closest to actually answering Zordon's original request to Alpha, though.
Rita, she's escaped and she's attacking the planet.
Ay, what do we do?
Teleport to us 5 overbearing and over-emotional humans.
No, not that, not teenagers.
As it retooled the Mighty Morphin team to be much moodier and gave them more baggage and, well, attitude than the characters of the original MMPR.
Cal seems unhappy,
Well, it shouldn't be unhappy because I just milked their...
Him. You just milked him.
This is a hit.
Was it one udder?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's not an udder, dude.
I was gonna say it was actually kind of weird. It was really big and I had to use 2 hands.
Stop.
To varying degrees of success. If you're wondering why I don't say the same for Power/Rangers or the other fan projects like it, other than the fact I black out in anger and wake up in the middle of nowhere, usually surrounded by death and destruction, every time I try to watch the former, it's because they basically always focus on the aftermath of the original story. Well, until the comic we're talking about today, that is. Kids These Days #1 was released on December 18th, 2024. And I won't lie, I pre-ordered it after the covers as well as the name of one of its writers caught my eye. I mean, a comic about delinquent teens who essentially become Power Rangers, with covers of them spray painting their giant robot and doing cake stands on top of it, and it's written, co-written by a WWE superstar, aka former Impact star Ethan Page. Sign me the fuck up. Ethan was joined by more experienced comic writer Brett Murphy and artist Wilson Gandolfo for this venture. And honestly, I'm not really familiar with their work, meaning I had absolutely no idea what to expect going into this. So initial excitement aside, does the first issue of Kids These Days deliver on its promise as a series about what brash, egotistical teenagers who prioritize their celebrity over actually saving the world would do with power in a giant alien mech, or does it squander that potential? Well, opening to the first page, we're confronted with some rather uninspired super or spacesuit type designs, and some pretty weak looking masks. All are pretty generic, but the third one, oh god, the third one. Pinky over here has seemingly chosen to design her helmet like a police biker helmet, with sunglasses, lashes, and obnoxiously large lips over the visor, and the shame about hers being nightmare fuel is that it probably comes the closest to actually resembling something from a Sentai or Tokusatsu. So I wish I could give Gandolfo some credit on this, but I just can't. I mean, look at this abomination. The book also doesn't even attempt to give the team a name, and you know what? While I could just chalk this up to laziness, and probably be right, I'll be generous and assume it's supposed to be an attempt at humor, even if it doesn't really succeed. Turning the page does give me something to actually praise, however, as we're treated with a miracle, a design in this comic that's actually appealing and feels at place in the Power Rangers parody. Hell, it lampoons Power Rangers while taking advantage of drawn art's only real limitation:
Imagination.
My love of the cheap Street Shark wannabes design aside, I have to give Fatlip here props for being the only Rower painter to get in some decent shit talk, even if it's a bit on the nose with its meta commentary. The guys fare much worse. Sure, their trash talk is vulgar, but that's not what offends me. What I actually take issue with is just how unfunny it all is, just completely uncreative and predictable. Sure, it's transgressive, but not in a way that's challenging, or even just funny in a way that's inappropriate. They could really benefit from a few lessons courtesy of Manchester Black on how to say something both transgressive yet pointed. But hey, you know what's really clever? Spoofing the weapons the Rangers are armed with by giving the guys knives and the girls nightsticks? Yeah, okay, because the female Rangers are usually given rather useless weapons by comparison. Ironically, seasons like Zeo probably justify this joke better than the series they're actually parodying, the original Mighty Morphin. The joke about the weapons the team as a whole is given doesn't actually suck too much though. I mean, when you really stop to think about it, a lot of Ranger weapons are basically just normal human weapons with an extreme makeover. And honestly, problems with the actual joke about the kind of weapons the girls are armed with not feeling very relevant aside, it does provide one of the only jokes even approaching being funny when the team, or at least Jalen the Red Knot Ranger, and Michelle the Purple one, accuse the colonel they work for of being a sexist. Yeah, these four are apparently employed by the military because child soldiers are just legal now. Believable considering the current political climate, honestly. Well, hope you enjoyed the faint praise because it's time for the comic to remind me why I chose to do a Mad Reviews on it. I mean, look at the barely existent visual storytelling here. Between Jalen getting hit off screen and falling to the ground in pain, to whatever is implied to happen to Michelle, the only implication she got any retaliation being when we see her on the ground behind Jalen? How fucking hard did Street Orca here swat her? Then there's the barely communicated joke of the Pink Major tripping and falling. At least I'm pretty sure that's supposed to be what's happening here. This whole scene is just one big mess, to the point I'm almost impressed by how bad it was executed. Wait, what's this? Come out to the woods, they said. It will be fun, they said. Well, they didn't mention the part of getting super outer space tech attached to your body that will attract weird-looking aliens. Oh my god. A decent joke satirizing Power Rangers and tokusatsu superhero team origins that also serves as exposition? Too bad it's ruined by how clumsy Lyra's exposition is. At least the way Blello Jimmy defeats Lyra is pretty clever, as he uses a baseball to suffocate the Street Sharks wannabe. Oh yeah, before the comic started struggling to tell a consistent story and jokes, Jimmy ran off to do something, aka grab a baseball and plug Lyra's hole. Not like that.
You're nasty!
And another decent moment's ruined as we get a word balloon of Lyra shit-talking himself as he dies. But that can't be right, so is it the Commander Rue he name-dropped earlier? If that's the case, why wouldn't you do something to show us that's what's going on? I'd think it'd be Jimmy, but there's no indication of the words coming from him. Jesus, even when this comic looks like it's shaping up to be something other than an unmitigated disaster, drops the ball. Pun very much not intended. Where the fuck did you go, Jimmy? This thing nearly killed us. I realized this fucker had a blowhole like a whale, and then it struck me. I can plug a ball in there like they did on Seinfeld. What the fuck is Seinfeld? Oh hey, a joke about the next generation not knowing Seinfeld. I suppose this is where I nod and exclaim, kids these days. Am I right? Look, I swear I'm not trying to complain on every single panel here, but why the hell is Roxy talking in broken English all of a sudden? What we should to do feels like something Yoda would say, not her. No, you know what? That's not fair to Yoda. Even his English was strung together better. Roxy having a stroke is followed up by Jalen suggesting they fillet the dying Monster Man whale thing. Roxy agreeing, and just when it looks like someone's about to stop the teenage psychopaths, Michelle exclaims, "Wait, what are we doing? This isn't right." The book's subverting the audience's expectations as Michelle continues saying, "We should video this for TikTok." Or at least that's what I'd say if there were any expectations to subvert. Though I will admit the "ew, it's so warm" joke got a little chuckle out of me the second time. So congratulations on the small victories, I guess, Murphy, Page, and Gandolfo. Don't mess with Earth, motherfucker. We got Tom Hanks and Hawk Tuah, bitch. Putting aside Jalen not knowing who or what Seinfeld is while knowing who Tom Hanks is, Hawk Tuah, as in the Hawk Tuah girl, the one who's basically disappeared from public consciousness after facing Scratch that, she's gonna be in a show. Still not really a timeless reference if the public barely pays any attention at this point after blowing up around this time last year, is it? But at the base, after they get their asses chewed out for essentially making a snuff video for TikTok and finish accusing the Colonel of being sexist, he lectures them about spray painting their legally distinct Megazord. In their defense, though, Jalen points out that the teens, I'm getting really sick of these guys not having any kind of name for their superhero team, were the ones who found it thanks to Jimmy's vision. Wait, why would the comic just drop on us out of nowhere that Jimmy had a vision that led to finding an alien mech? Does that not seem like kind of a big deal? It's revealed that the mech hasn't worked so far, and that the last test caused 1 death and 3 hospitalizations. I'd like to think that this might lead to some kind of commentary about how the government uses those who serve the country, and then just abandons them once they're done with them. But come on, we all know that's not happening in this comic. And now for the part I know we were all waiting for, the villain reveal. That's right, we meet the vile Commander Rue as the alien who left the gems to the teens with an attitude problem makes his last stand against him. And it's all so boring and generic. The designs are forgettable. The dialogue uninspired. And it made me miss any attempt at comedy. Yeah, it's pretty bad when I'm yearning for jokes like, "Hawk Tuah, bitch. Who did you think you were messing with? Saturn?" And of course, who could forget the certified classic, "Hey Jimmy, this blueberry motherfucker looks like the chick you hooked up with last week." But hey, after Rue slaughters every rebel written to die ever, number 456, we get a joke seemingly referencing a theory that the film Philadelphia is actually a secret sequel to Forrest Gump. And I have a problem with this. I know, surprise, surprise, me finding an issue with the dumb parody comic. But you mean to tell me Jalen, the guy who has no idea what fucking Seinfeld, one of the most well-known and foundational sitcoms ever made is, knows what Philadelphia is? I call bullshit. I mean, I've seen a shitload of movies, and am aware of even more, and I never in my life even so much as heard of Philadelphia before opening this thing. This oh-so enlightening conversation is interrupted by, would you believe it, another unremarkable alien. I mean, he looks fine, I guess, if rather thrown together. My problem is that he's obviously supposed to be their Zordon. And look, if you're going to parody Power Rangers, your wise wizard mentor better be even half as iconic as a giant blue face in a fucking tube. This is somehow an even bigger downgrade than 2017 Zordon, for fuck's sakes. And he was basically just one of those hand-pressed toys, but giant. And that is how the debut issue of Kids These Days ends.
But wait! There's more!
Because would you believe it? I've even found things to critique about, well, pretty much every cover that was made for the issue. See, the covers, with the exception of one, aren't really consistent with what we see in the book. It's probably most egregious in the case of Jalen, who looks like, well, this in the actual pages of the book, but on the covers he's depicted as a rather generic-looking black teen with long dreads, tattoos, and a green hat for some reason. And look, while it's possible he has his tattoos under his clothing in his final design, everything else is undeniably overhauled in the final product. Then there's the suits on the covers. Versus what made it into the story itself, they're also almost completely inconsistent. Except the same suit design is used by all three artists for their respective covers, including the comic's interior illustrator, who also illustrates the teens for the covers. So did they just use concept art for the covers? What the fuck happened to give us completely different looks for the teens on the interior and exterior of the book? It's just so fucking confusing. Look, I've obviously read worse. It's kind of hard not to have when you've got 6 long boxes worth of comics. I mean, I've suffered through All Hail Megatron, had the misfortune of demystifying Marvel's ruins for myself, and burned my eyes beyond repair trying to get through Buffy Season 8. But one thing I've heard that holds true is that there is nothing worse than getting through a bad comedy. I mean, a lot of bad horror, action, hell, even dramas can often deliver some unintentionally funny, even hilarious moments. But a bad comedy is often devoid of even smaller laughs. And with few exceptions, that's what this comedic twist on the Power Rangers formula is guilty of. Hell, even beyond that it's just nowhere as interesting or creative as I'd hoped for, most of the designs leave something to be desired. And the characters are all rather forgettable. Other than Street Shamu, whose design saves him from blending in with everything else. I really do wish I could recommend the first comic co-created by Ethan Page, a pretty accomplished pro wrestler, but his talents just did not translate over to his first venture into the world of comics. I'll give any further issues a chance. And if they end up being good, I get to make a positive mad reviews. If they don't, well, you'll get more of me bitching and moaning about it. Until next time though, this is Mad Silence, signing out. If you enjoyed this review, like, comment, subscribe, and hit that bell button to stay up to date on my uploads and the next Mad Reviews.